Hi, my name is Dr. Ushma Upadhyay, and today I'm going to be speaking about my analysis from the Turnaway study on whether having an abortion enables women to achieve their life plans. I'd like to acknowledge my co-authors, Dr. Antonia Biggs and Dr. Diana Green Foster. So, women have abortions for many reasons, which are often related to life course goals. An analysis from the Turnaway study data found that the reasons that women have decided to have an abortion include being not financially prepared because they said it was not the right time and that would interfere with future opportunities. So these reasons led us to want to answer the question of whether having an abortion increases the ability of women to achieve such life plans. So our study aims in this analysis were one, to determine whether individuals who have an abortion are more likely to have aspirational one-year plans than turnaways, than those who were denied an abortion. And then second, to determine whether individuals who had an abortion were more likely than those who were denied one to have achieved their life plan. So the Turnaway study design involves the recruitment of 3 groups. We recruited first turnaways, including 231 women who were denied an abortion. They presented at an abortion facility up to 3 weeks above the facility's gestational limit. They did not receive an abortion. The second group were near limit, we call them near limit abortion patients, and they reached the abortion facility within 2 weeks of the clinic's gestational limit. So these individuals received the abortion procedure. Finally, our third group included first trimester abortion patients, individuals who got their abortion within the first 14 weeks of gestation. And the study followed all 3 groups for 5 years using semi-annual phone interviews in either English or Spanish. And here we have a map of the facilities that participated in the study, 30 abortion providers who had the latest gestational limit within 150 miles. So our 3 main outcomes for this analysis were, 1, we included a question in the baseline survey: how do you think your life will be different a year from now? And then this question was asked 1 week after either receiving or being denied an abortion. It was an open-ended question, and many respondents actually gave multiple responses to that question. We then looked at their data, subsequent data within the next year, to assess whether they achieved that 1-year plan. The second outcome is whether they had an aspirational 1-year plan. So we looked at each of those 1-year plans and categorized them as either positive or neutral or negative. And then third, we assessed whether they achieved that 1-year plan, and that was a dichotomous outcome. Either they did or they did not. So first, we categorized each plan into one of 8 themes. Coding was done in a multi-step process. We had an intern help us initially code all of the responses, and then I looked over those responses. For those that were more complex, all of the co-authors met together to decide how they should be coded. We also categorized them into positive, negative, neutral, or neutral, matter of fact, and then we categorized each plan into whether they were achieved or not achieved. The quantitative component of the analysis involved logistic regression. We used a multivariable mixed effects logistic regression model to account for the clustering by the clinic site and by the participant. We adjusted for age, race, ethnicity, education, employment, school status, marital status, total number of children, and other factors. And then for the qualitative, we coded the open-ended responses and categorized them, as I just described. The total sample at baseline was 877, and we had a total of 752 participants with complete one-year data. And that was a total of 1,291 plans when you actually look at the each plan individually, because some participants reported more than one plan. So the most common one-year plans included educational plans, employment plans, and those were, educational were 21% of all plans, and employment were 20% of all plans. And you can see that the blue is the percentage of one-year plans that were categorized as in that with that label. And so you can see the first two columns. Individuals in the near limit group were more likely to report more educational and employment plans. Turnaways were more likely to report child-related plans, and that was statistically significant. And then when we actually look at whether the plan was positive, neutral, or negative, we see that near limits were significantly more likely to report a positive one-year plan. And parenting, Turnaway parent who opted for parenting were much more likely to report neutral or negative one-year plans. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a sense of what these one-year plans were like. So one positive example was, it will be different because I'll have more responsibilities. I'm going to finish 1 year of college. I'll have done more than most young pregnant women. And then another one is, I'll give a good life to my kids. Neutral or matter of fact examples include, I don't think I'll be married. It will probably be the same. And so these were often examples, these were often statements where we couldn't really assess whether that would be a positive or negative thing for the participant. And negative examples include, very different. I believe that I will be working 2 jobs really hard to support 2 kids. And then I think that I will have 4 children instead of 3, and I will probably have less money. So in assessing whether the life plan was achieved, we had to first look at whether the life plan was measurable. That is, whether we could assess whether they achieved it. So 85% of all plans were in fact measurable. So examples of unmeasurable plans were, I can see myself doing better. I'll just be doing better, I hope. Or I think my life will be fine as long as I keep my stuff on track. So these were, we didn't really have outcomes to assess whether these were achieved or not. These tended to be more subjective one-year life plans. When we look at the results, we can see here when we wanted to, we looked at whether the participant or the factors associated with having a positive one-year plan. And we found that turnaways, those who were denied an abortion, were significantly less likely to have a positive one-year life plan compared to near limits. And then we also found, interestingly, that those who were married were significantly less likely to have a positive one-year life plan. None of the other factors in the model were significantly associated with having a one-year life plan. We also looked at who achieves their one-year life plans. So when you just look at achievement, there were no statistical differences between those who received versus being denied an abortion. But those with more education those who had a high school education were more likely to achieve their one-year life plan than those who had less than high school. And then we also found that those with more children, 2 or more children, were less likely to achieve their one-year life plan versus those who had no children. When we put those findings together into a model to really understand who has positive aspirations and who achieves them, we find that those in the Turnaway group, those who were denied an abortion, were significantly less likely to have positive aspirations and achieve their life plan. So, in summary, we find that women in the near limit abortion group, those who received their abortion, were significantly more likely than Turnaways to have one-year plans that were aspirational. Women in the near limit abortion group were significantly more likely than Turnaways to have one-year plans that were aspirational and to have achieved them. So we think that Turnaways may have tempered their positive goals or changed their goals after being denied an abortion. So future research could look at one-year goals before learning whether they are going to have their abortion or not, and that would really help us better understand the impact of receiving versus being denied an abortion. And then finally, we also found that demographic characteristics were very important to achieving one's aspirational goals. I'd like to acknowledge the entire Turnaway study team. This was an effort by a large number of people to make this happen. Thank you for your time and interest today.